Hello, I'm your host Mike Brusky. Today's segment is fireplace preparation or possibly lack thereof. What we have in this house, in the family room, is the builder contractor has contracted with a regional fireplace distributor to install a prefabricated fireplace tomorrow. It's a 42-inch direct vent. The manufacturer's been kind enough to send me the spec, so I know the framed opening. We can check and see if that'll work. And what we have here, we need 47.5 inches for the framing. And currently the framer has left it at 50 inches. So this needs to be closed down so the fireplace can be properly secured. Also, this is an outside chase cavity, affectionately known in the industry as a doghouse, because it doesn't run all the way up to the sky. It has a little shed roof up at the top here on the outside. So, it's an unheated cavity. And what the IECC 2009 code requires, International Energy Conservation Code, is that this chase cavity be insulated, and not only insulated, but air sealed. To accomplish that, we're going to put R13 in, even though we know in this area in Somerset County, Zone 5, Climate Zone 5, that we need R15 as a minimum. So, to come back to more than R15, we're going to use this crushed bubble pack with foil on both sides, which gives us about an R3 to 4. Therefore, we'll wind up with an R16 to 17, exceeding the R15 required. This will also provide us with our continuous air seal that's necessary. The concept is this is an unheated cavity. No heat in it. If it's 20 degrees outside, it's 35 degrees in that cavity, surrounding this metal box that would conduct the cold right into the room. We need to stop the airflow through it and create some thermal resistance, which we'll do. The other thing to notice is that the back cavity is not framed out. Now, since this is a doghouse and we're not sending the flue vertically, we can send the flue off the top and out, or out the rear. That's why this fireplace is called a direct vent. We're going to choose to run out the rear. For one, it's simpler and less expensive. And for two, if we vent it up, we're going to be too close with the top of the flue to the soffit to the outside. What is that? My hair? Yeah, I don't have paint in my hair. That's gray and white. That's a naturally curling element. So, that's our mission today. We can achieve it and be ready for the fireplace installer to come tomorrow. Let's get started. So how we'll start is, it's important that ultimately when the consumer is in the home, moved in, sitting on the couch with their favorite beverage, and they're looking at the fireplace, that everything looks right. We need to make sure it's centered. Now, center of this chase cavity may not be center of the room, but the other thing we have is these elements of the windows. That's what everybody will focus on, and see if the fireplace with the marble and the mantle is centered. So we don't want to take center point of this framed cavity to get the hole in the back, or the center point of the room necessarily. We want to pick the center point between the windows. And that's going to measure out to 94 inches. Half of that is 47 inches, and that'll be our center point. And that's what we'll mark. From here, everything works backwards. The hole needs to be centered in the back. The framing that we'll make in between needs to be centered on that also. And we'll cut that hole first, because we won't cut it. We will frame it in. The fireplace distributor will cut it tomorrow. Now, I know that this fireplace has a 10-inch fire stop. And because the manufacturer sent me the specs, I know that the center of my spot off of this platform needs to be 25.5 inches high. That way we get a positive slight angle for the flue, so it'll always draw properly. I've got a mark there at 25.5. And that's our center point. And we're going to go 5 in all directions, and we're going to frame that in. Something else that I noticed here, now that I'm sitting on this platform, when I sat on it, I could hear it was hollow. I can reach my hand back behind. That's certainly, of course, a source of cold air. So we also have insulation that will stuff in there to prevent cold air from coming up through the fireplace and into the room. Let's get started cutting our wood. We're going to start marking and cutting the lumber for the rear vent. And why I've chosen this 2x4, it looks kind of ugly, I picked job 2x4s up from outside the house that would have gone into the waste cycle and into the dumpster. No sense in cutting a brand new 2x4 and creating more waste. I should use this. It just makes more sense. A lot of people in construction now are catching on, and it's important that we save our environment. And one way to do that is at larger job sites, they have several dumpsters, one for cardboard, one for concrete, one for framing lumber. And what happens with the framing lumber is little odd pieces get chipped up and made into OSB, oriented strand board, for the outside of homes on the walls. Sometimes floors. Smaller 2x4s and 2x6s get finger jointed and put together and made as new reused material for new construction. First we're going to mark off. I've got some spots at 10. There'll be our side risers. And I've got some marked off at 14.5. That fits between the existing framing to close down to what we need. I could have also brought in a generator, power tools. I could have brought in battery operated tools. But you know what? Once in a while it's just fun to use your hands and use a handsaw and hammer by hand, especially if it's a small job. It's more time and trouble to bring everything in than to just do this. That's actually just as fast as doing it with an electric saw. First one fits right in, or it will when I get my hammer out. Got that in there. Now I'm putting unfaced insulation. Usually I wear long sleeves when I'm dealing with insulation, but it really is hot today. Cavities are full. Okay, next we'll do the walls. Now let's put them up in the wall. But so that I don't have a double vapor barrier, this one and the foil bubble pack, I'm going to put a slice right down the middle of this, and that takes care of the vapor barrier. Also, so that it doesn't drop, put a tack of staple in the top. I've pre-cut these bats to 47 inches because that's what it measured. And they'll fit right in place, fill the cavity completely. And I don't want any of this to sag or drop. So I'm going to stick a staple or two in the top. Just precautionary. I brought the other stapler. Now you'll notice that this also has a vapor barrier on it. And I said I was putting unfaced in. Currently, craft-faced R13 is considerably cheaper than unfaced at the stores. Don't know why, it just is. So to avoid the double vapor barrier, this craft paper and the foil bubble pack being two vapor barriers trapping moisture between, all I have to do is put a slice in the middle of this paper. It holds up better. That takes care of the double vapor barrier. Gone. We've got a California corner here, which is beautiful. You can put insulation in behind it. So I'm actually going to put the insulation there. It's the best way to do framing so you don't have hollow spots. Corners and interior T-walls are notorious cold spots. And the California corner takes care of that. Good tools make a difference. That's not one of them. Now this one I mistakenly cut at 47, forgetting about the hole that I have here. So I'll put it up in place. and then I'll actually cut it in place. Leave it a little bit long so I can wedge it in and make sure that there's no open air space showing. There it is. A little bit long, but it fits just fine. There we go. Slice these like I said I would. And we're ready for the next step, our bubble pack continuous air cover. I'm putting the foil bubble pack in place, spreading it out. The next thing I'm going to try to do is attempt to staple it with a stapler. And here we go. Okay. There we go. Couple more over here. Hold it in place so it doesn't drop over the fireplace. Where we have seams, we need to seal these so the air doesn't pass through. I've got a cold weather foil tape here that's great for this type of work. I could also use caulk, and if we were using sheetrock or we were using wood or thermoply to create our air barrier, I would use that. But I found that the foil tape works much better with a bubble pack because there's a lot of give and take with a bubble pack. This allows me to go right through and seal all these joints, and then I'll go back over and rub them so that they're not exposed. So no air gets by and it's a permanent seal. You want to get all the seams because air will seek the path of least resistance. And if you have one spot that's cold, the whole cavity's cold. One last one over here. And then we have to get the very top and the very bottom too. Whoop, there's nails. That's one of the drawbacks of using existing lumber. Watch out for the nails. Put this in place. Put a couple nails in, and we're good to go on this side. No nails in this one. Okay, the framing part is done. So we've taken care of the majority of the work for today in preparation for tomorrow's fireplace. We've got our whole frame, we've got the chase insulated, air sealed, we've got the framing in place that's required so the nailing flanges can nail in place and secure the fireplace. The last point of consideration is the fireplace wall switch. When you have a tight spot like between windows, you need to be careful where you put it. You want to have it too close to the mantle where it's in the way. Or, I see that the builder has it marked out here in red, fireplace switch. If this window is going to get 2.25 inch casing, that'll be fine. But if the consumer's going to update grade to 3.5, and we don't know that, we now need to make a preparation for this and make sure that it fits. We don't want the wall switch to be too close to the casing or behind it in the way. So that will not be our first choice. The other side has a stud in the middle of the wall. That may work. We know that for a 42-inch fireplace, a typical mantle is 76 to 78 inches. Therefore, we should allow 40 inches on center, and let's see if we have it. This stud is 37 inches from center point. That doesn't work. So, alternative spot, we scab out this spot so we're far enough away from the casing, put the nailer box and switch here, and that makes sure we're far enough away from the mantle too. I appreciate you joining us for today's session on fireplace preparation. Thank you very much for your time. I hope I've passed the audition.